I bet your dollar you don't really know what racism means. Welcome to Welcome to the Shikama Live Show with your host Shikama in association with www.lasvegasnevadaDUI.com. Although it's all over the news, although you hear it all the time, although it's in movies, TV, commercial, racism is very little understood today. Mainly due to the educational system and how terrible it is, which are run by Democrats, but also because you're being dumbed down and what little education you have received is constantly being bombarded with the wrong information by the news, movies, TV shows. Hi, let me talk about racism, and I'm going to tell you what it really is. Racism is a group effort on the part of one group who's completely distinguishable from another group, and they steal the resources of the second group. So, with that definition, let me tell you what racism is not. Racism is not a white man shooting a black man. Racism is not Paula Deen saying the N-word or referring to black people as something derogatory. That is not racism. That is bigotry. So we got two words today: bigotry and racism. Bigotry is a stereotypical view of another person. Whatever actions you take because of that still is not racism. It is bigotry. Why? Because racism is an entire group stealing the resources from another group. Now, why did we have so many laws and so many policies and so many points of view against black people during slavery, during Jim Crow, and today? In order for racism to thrive, and it is still thriving, the white people are still stealing resources from black people. Racism is still alive and well. Just because something has become more subtle and sophisticated does not mean that it has disappeared. Understand that. The reason you had all of these varying views about black people by white people was because the powers that be had to ensure that racism thrived. It couldn't thrive if human nature took over. Humans are pack animals, are group animals. We like to group together. We do not like being alone. That being said, since we like grouping together, regardless of the whole notion of race, a human will look at another human and want to befriend him or her, regardless of race, regardless of any of those notions. So, the point of view that black people weren't human, that Africans weren't human, that Africans were somehow substandard, that there was something wrong with us, had to be promoted and constantly promoted and reinforced. Because human nature says, hey, there's another human. Let's be friends. That's human nature. Human nature is, there's a black guy, let me kill him. That is not human nature. Human nature is to live together. I know your religion tries to teach you the opposite, that man is evil. man is evil. From the core of his being, man is evil. That is not true. Humans are group oriented. Xenophobia is psychological. The instinct is to group together. If you were lost in the forest, no matter what color the person was, if you found another person, you would be happy to see them. Is that an unfair example? No, that's a direct example of human nature. If you were lost in the forest and you saw a house and the house had no smoke coming out of nothing, no lights were turned on, what would you do? You would go to the house and you would look for humans. You're not just looking for the house, you're looking for the human inside the house. Why? Because humans are group oriented. So, this message is to white people and black people. White people are being sold down the river just as much as black people are being sold down the river. Now, what is not racism? Racism is not the Chinese gathering together and forming Chinatown. Racism is not the Jews gathering together and forming Jewish ghettos. Racism is not Italians gathering together and forming Little Italy. Racism is not black people forming together and starting black businesses. That is not racism. You don't call it racism when the Chinese do it. Don't call it racism when the black people do it. Racism is one group stealing the economic resources of another group. Let's go back to slavery so that you're not confused. They had to instruct the white people that black people were inherently wrong, that inherently there was something wrong with them, to overcome your human nature. The racism is the structure that was over it all. The racism is the structure of the white people stealing the resources of the black people, their labor, their time, their life, their industry, their ideas. There are thousands and thousands of black inventions that you use in your home every day today. Most of them did not receive credit. Why? Because black people could not receive credit for their inventions nor patent their inventions all the way up until about 19 something. I don't know it off the top of my head. So, most of the inventions that promoted the entire country, moved the entire country ahead by black people was completely stolen by white people. That is racist. Paula Deen saying she doesn't like black people or that she hates black people or calling black people lousy words, that's not racism, that is bigotry. I told you you don't know what racism is. How did I do? Thank you for watching the Shikama Live Show.